such an amazing film. I have a lot of questions for you. To start, I would love to hear about the screenwriting process and the two of you, how you started on this. What was the original idea when you started talking about doing this? Was the idea from the start a courtroom drama, or was it about a marriage, or what was the sort of seed that got this going?
I think it's complicated sometimes to remember exactly because sometimes for me it's like when you have two lines, who cross, and you have the idea when the two lines are crossing, the croise. And but I remember, I think the marriage was the main thing, to dive in that couple, that story. And but the idea, we had the idea, I think it was when we said, okay, maybe we don't want to take the hand to the spectator and say, okay, come inside this house to watch how they live, but to go through the courtroom, through the trial, to understand that story, Mm-hmm. She's not speaking. It's always the other who are speaking instead of her. So in a way, she's dispossessed of the narrative. And I think it was the main things, to say, okay, it will be a portrait, yes, but a portrait qui passe par ça. Sorry.
That will go through this process, mm-hmm. in order to discover what happened.
Could you talk a little bit more about, and Arthur as well, about how you write together? Were you sitting together, talking it out? Did you come up with an outline first? What was the process of developing this as two writers together?
I think there is two times. The first time it's just, just sit like us, mm-hmm. to just discuss and we didn't write anything. But first of all, it was very funny, just desire, okay, the sound will be very important. Maybe we will tease something during 1 hour, and after a recording sound will appear in the courtroom, and just desires. Mm-hmm. And after, it's okay, we have to build the thing. So after, it's much more complicated, and when the dialogues starts, we just separate us and in different rooms, and we're just sending email. We are just sending emails.
Emailing each other in the same house.
Yeah, exactly, all the time, and say, okay. And I don't know if it's correcting, but just, yes, doing a lot of correction on scene, and sometimes we were not always agree about everything, so sometimes we were like, no, it's not this, it's not that, but yes, I think it was very. Now the only thing is because we are living together, so we have no time, When you're working with a script,
with a screenwriter,
sorry, you have time, And with Arthur, it was at 2 a.m. or okay, I have an idea, and okay, so it was funny, and of course because Arthur is a director. First of all, mm-hmm. The work was, of course, to write, but to have. Sorry, I switch in French. C'était aussi beaucoup un travail de désir de mise en scène. Donc c'était aussi quelqu'un qui a beaucoup participé avec moi au désir vraiment de mettre en scène.
But also there was not just the writing, there was also planning the direction. And since Arthur is always a director, there was a lot of building up on these direction ideas together.
Justine, since you mentioned, you said we didn't have time. I want to go to that scene where Samuel's saying, he wants his time back. That scene is so incredible. It's one of the most powerful sequences in the film to me, and I loved watching it. One of the pleasures of this film to me is the language. These are people who know how to talk. They know how to argue. They don't give up. They keep going, both of them. And obviously in the court as well, you have a similar dynamic of people who know how. Both those lawyers, even though I despised one of them, are so good at their jobs. But that scene where Samuel's saying, I want my time back, and she's just unrelenting in saying, you have so much self-pity. That entire, could you talk a bit about that? I mean, I have a lot of questions about that scene, but first the writing of it.
Yeah, I think it was very, very complicated to write because first of all, I remember that I always said to Arthur, I don't like these people. I don't want to it's the only scene that we have. It's the only piece of truth of them. So we had to give something to the audience which is not just the cliche of the fight scene. So I think we discussed a lot of the base, of the beginning, of how it starts. After, of course, it's there is a lot of things: sexual problem, jealousy, many things. But the base was very important. And when we had the idea, I think, of the you steal my time. It's so universal. Every people could have that kind of feeling in their lives to say, okay, I lost my time with this man, with this woman. He stole me something. And I think when we had this idea, I said, okay, this is, except for very rich people because they have some, solutions to help us, to help them. But I think a lot of people could have this kind of frustration, And when we have this base after, it was quite easy, I think. No, but maybe you want to add something?
No, the scene had to be consistent, and we knew long before starting to write it. Actually, like the dialogues, we knew we had to. It couldn't be just a good scene. It had to be strong and really powerful. So it of course, when we found the topic of time, then it was more natural to know how they would speak and how they would think, and especially how the man would think, because he's a character that we're like from the beginning we hear about him, but we don't see him. We hear his music. Everybody's talking about him. We see his face. We see photographs, but we don't actually know who he is. So it's the only scene in which his humanity is like really existing. So we had to find a way in how could he talk? How could he express himself? Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of layers of writing for.
Yeah, and we were obsessed by, okay, we need to have they still love each other a little, it was very important to keep this in that scene. But after, we were so lucky to have Sandra and Samuel, because they embody and everything is going up. Était mieux, amélioré quoi, avec eux quoi.
They really raised the level of the acting, of the human interaction with such good actors.
Yeah,
incredible. Yeah, I mean, one thing I love about that scene is it's so ordinary. It's so mundane. It's a couple having an argument about time, and I've had that argument, and but the stakes are incredibly high at the same time. Obviously, when you see where it ends up, but even before the end, it's like the way they play it, and it's so fully lived in that moment. It's just like it's completely
because I think that sometimes when people in that situation could be just ugly, we are an asshole, and it's just impulsive things. But there, it's a battle of ideas, and the only thing who change everything is when he's talking about the child and say, okay, your child thinks that about you, and it switched something in her mind and say, okay, and after that she's really, really terrible with him. But I think what she's saying to him is true, is real. When she said, okay, you're not a victim, you're not, and I think this point was, she's not just how do you say, sorry, c'est pas un monstre de dire ça, c'est qu'à un moment donné, elle dit profondément ce qu'elle pense, quoi.
She's not a monster when she said that. She actually say what she thinks.
Et ce qui est vrai, quoi. Chacun a ses raisons de développer son argumentaire.
Everybody find a way to justify themselves, but.
Justine, could you talk about when you were in production? I'd also love to hear you talk about how you shot that scene. Were you doing long takes where they were just running the entire thing? And you're pretty. It's like medium shots to close-ups. So I'm just curious, what was the set like, and how did you?
For that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was special for that scene because I was very afraid about this shooting day. And sometimes it's with the sex scenes, but there is no sex in this movie. But there is always one or two scenes in a movie that you are so afraid. You are like, I have to overcome this moment. And this scene was really, really, yes, of course, for everyone. And we had 2 cameras. And because it was, yes, long shot, and one on Samuel, one on Sandra. And I think, yes, it was a 15 minutes shot around. And it was physical for everyone. And Sandra asked me that. She said, please let me really come inside the level, And yes, she was very high since the first no, just not high in the. Yeah, she was high
in emotion.
Yes. No, she was sober, of course, but she was high in a way. And no, she was very. It was complicated because at the beginning it was pasta, bolognese pasta, and she said, "Please, not bolognese, please, because I will be red, So we changed as we switched. It was just with, I think, I don't remember. It was yes, white pasta.
Yeah. Pasta with vegetables. Yeah.
But she ate so much, so many pasta, and it's very special because at a certain moment it was really complicated for her because there was a lot of takes and a lot of pasta because yes. And so yes, she was unbelievable because she was really involved in that scene like very few actors. She was yes, and she was obsessed by the violence when the violence is coming, and when and we made a lot of versions, and I prepare something right now for the DVD. And we choose to have all the takes, and so I saw again all the takes, and she was totally crazy. She was in a very, very strange mood, And between the takes, she kept the energy. So she was like, okay, it's okay. And I was like, yes, maybe you can just add some funny. And she said, no. And it was. Yes, it was crazy, of course. But ce que j'adore chez Sandra, c'est qu'elle amène toujours quelque chose de extrêmement. C'est ça qui est beau chez les grands acteurs, c'est qu'ils te font vraiment comprendre le texte. Il y a jamais le texte disparaît. Il y a vraiment cette idée que tout à coup, elle transmet vraiment. On la croit, on est avec elle, malgré le fait qu'elle puisse être un peu dure. On est avec elle.
What I love with great actors like Sandra is that they just transform the lines, and you no longer know that they were your lines. They sort of possess it in a new way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she is so remarkable in every scene in the film. Can you talk about when did she get involved, and how did you come to cast her? Or was she in mind when you were writing?
Yeah. It was one of the starting points. We were writing for Sandra.
I was obsessed by her since Sibyl because she had a small part in my previous movie, but she was so involved, so generous, and yes, I think there is a paradox with Sandra because in life she's so transparent. She's so, you know, she's so true. She's without any kind of sophistication, you know. And I asked to her to play that part, which is usually played by women, you know, very mysterious, with you know, a lot of, it's a cliche, you know, in thrillers to see women like this, you know. I'm doing something, but I'm thinking of other things, you know. And I think Sandra is playing this with a kind of, a sort of very, she's not seducing anybody, you know. She's really, she's, okay, it's my life, I'm not elle se justifie pas, elle n'a pas à se justifier.
Yeah, she doesn't feel she has to justify herself, and she doesn't use artifice.
Yeah, so I think she's playing it with a very contemporary way of doing it. You know what I mean? I think she's so she was very modern in the way, and so it was very interesting for me. And of course, because I like to do a lot of takes, we have done a lot, of course, on set. It was very interesting because I love so much when actors take the space to spread out, you know, to take the space to, and for me the set is really the place where we can try everything and not close, you know, everything to say, okay, I think I'm the opposite of the director who says just, okay, baby, do this and go. No, I need to explore something on set, because for me, I need when actors, I love so much when actors drop everything, you know, all the defense, all the defense, or all the all the sophistication things, all the artifice, and the makeup was a great. We had a great discussion on makeup, because at the beginning I had some cliche in my mind. I said, okay, maybe in the courtroom you could be much more made up. Sorry, and I think it was a cliche in a way, because you know, in Witness for Prosecution, in the Billy Wilder movie that I like so much, Marlène Dietrich is like, you know, the perfect woman, really, who is duplicitist in a way, you know, and Sandra bring me something totally different. Say, okay, no, we are playing different card. A card of, okay, I'm like this. J'assume ce que je suis.
Yeah, I own who I am.
Yeah, and I don't apologize for anything, you know. So she bring me this, I think.
Incredibly, yeah. I have to ask about music. Okay, you have the music cue of the year with 50 Cent PIMP. I mean, the steel drum version. It's absolutely incredible. What were you thinking? How did that come to you? Was that in the writing process? Like, were you guys writing with that in the background, or?
No, it was not in the writing process, because it was Jolene. It was Jolene of Dolly Parton at the beginning.
We wrote with Jolene in mind.
Jolene going.
And
we even had like the lyrics were a part of one scene in which the bad lawyer is trying to explain why he intentionally put this music, because the lyrics are directly speaking to Sandra. But we didn't have.
No, but I had these tracks. No, this track in my computer since 3 years ago. I think it was one of my favorites. You know, maybe I heard it. I don't know, 300 times, lot of time. I love so much this version, but it was my music. It was not for the movie. And after, when Dolly Parton said no, we were, okay, fuck, we have just 2 weeks to find the music, and I was totally very, very anxious about this, and I said, okay, 50 cents is the best. But you know, yes, and I think it was interesting because this version is special. I like very much the original, but it was too expensive for me. And I think it would have been much more, you know, ça aurait été trop.
Attendu, ouais.
Non, mais pas ça, ça aurait été trop signifiant, quoi.
Too much meaning.
Too much meaning, you know, with the
With the
lyrics and
yeah.
this one is particular. It's weird, you know. It's not too
Yeah.
hype. It's not too parisien au branché, comment tu dis, ouais, hype.
Not hip, Parisian like.
It's you don't know exactly. It's of course you know this song because it's so famous, but it's not, you know. And yes. It
Yeah,
was,
yeah. I'm sorry. Now I just can't stop thinking about Dolly Parton in this film.
Ah,
but,
sorry. No, for me, I love so much Jolene, and
Yeah.
I think it would have been very different. But I loved so much the argument in the courtroom about the lyrics of Dolly Parton. So I was very disappointed because I was like, you know, we have to put all in the garbage because of that. But
Well, to me, it's the funniest line of the film when the lawyer is talking about the misogyny, and then the other attorney goes,
Yeah.
"It's instrumental."
It's
yes. We wrote it at the end, just before the set, you know, okay, just a line.
But I also would love to hear you talk about the other music, and the music is very spare in the film. I mean, aside from PIMP, you have it's when the sun is playing. The scenes when the sun is playing are so significant. Like how you chose when to include that, and then there were also a couple moments where you have music playing over a scene where it's not actually happening. Like there's two moments, and now I'm forgetting.
With the child on piano? Oh no, on other things?
Well,
Or-
at the end, there's when you
over, like
yes.
really.
you
the
hear
music.
you hear PIMP when it's not happening in the actual scene. It's carrying over from the previous scene, I think.
No, PIMP
Each
is
music
always
in the
on,
film is always actually.
It's always in
happening.
the.
Yeah.
The only one
But-
is at the end.
Is,
where-
okay,
yeah.
it's the one at the end. That's what I'm
but
thinking.
you know the music for the it's very interesting because you know in the writing process at the beginning my producers told me, okay, what do you want for the music? You want to meet a composer? And I said no, I don't want a composer because thrillers and all the movie like this, the genre movie is always with music like this with huge nap. No, not nap.
It puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No, it's not that.
Oh,
And
it's
not-
it's
no, no.
overwhelm.
Sound
Yeah,
design,
yeah.
you know.
It overwhelms the movie.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's
Too much.
It's very classical, you know. You
Right.
put on Netflix on everything, you know. Okay, you have the same things, you know, all the time. So when we decided to do that movie, I said, okay, we have to be very radical in a way on music and to find something to not do the same thing that everyone do.
Expect, yeah.
Yeah, and we decided, okay, maybe the music will be just done by the child, sorry, and we could see the evolution of you know, the time with the just the piano. So we decided, of course, for the credits at the beginning to just see he's really not able to play the Albanese track. And just yes, you can see the evolution. But I think, yes, of course, when you are doing, I think, a movie like this, you cannot say, okay, you come inside a genre, so you have to be very, I think, yes, tu as besoin d'être quand même assez radical dans ta façon d'entrer, de trouver des manières de t'inscrire là-dedans sans faire la même chose que les autres, quoi.
You have to find a way to break away from the expected and find your own way.
And the music for me was really one of the and
Yeah, I remember.
okay.
No,
So it's a
it-
jet lag.
It was,
He's sleeping.
it was interesting to when we were writing to find where this it was like a secondary plot, like is he going to be able to make to play this difficult piece? Yeah, it had
There's a
kind
little
of
fable side of that.
like a fable. It was like this young kid. He has strong things to face, and at the same time he's trying to achieve something on his own, which is playing this part. So it was like a parallel.
A subplot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
subplot with the music. It was interesting to think of it that way.
Yeah, I felt like every time you went to him, or oftentimes it felt like it was coming out of some intense scene with the two of them, and then it's this moment of rest with him. But it's not just rest, because you're seeing what you were just saying. It's like how he's progressing or not with piano, but also what's going on with him and what's playing on his face. And I'd love to hear you talk about how you found him. I don't know if you've worked with him before. He's incredible. I mean...
Thank you. It was a huge casting, really, really long, because we started with just blind and visually impaired child, you know. So I wanted really, really a real visually impaired or blind child. And it was really, really complicated, because in Europe, you know, we were in different countries for this, and I think we didn't find him. And after we opened to all the childrens, but we discovered that the lines was so difficult for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was really, really hard. And I think we were looking for a child trop jeune, par rapport à, comment dire, le niveau d'écriture était trop élevé par rapport à l'âge de l'enfant.
Yeah, the writing level was a little too high for the age of the child we were
Mm-hmm.
looking for, made it difficult.
And so when we met Milo, it was very crazy, because I think he's a little nerd, you know, in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, he's not speaking like other childrens, you know. And yes, it was so beautiful because the way we discover him was with the sound. I not choose him with the picture, you know. I just saw the picture and said, no, it's not the child of Sandra Hüller. So I just put it, and just we were in the same place with Arthur, and at the moment he said, you know, it was the evening.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the same thing. I put all the casting, and we just hear the children's. And at the moment he said, wow, who is the children? He's not speaking like, and I said, no, he's not looking like Sandra, it's not possible. And after, he go back he did a callback, and he was so amazing. He was totally a level of intensity. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, I asked, why did you cry like this? Why? How you? And it just said, my brother is an actor, and I'm very jealous. And I wanted to have that cast, because my brother has everything, and not me.
God.
And I was like, okay, it's
That's good.
it's a motivation for. It was crazy. He was really, really amazing. You know, it was just an exercise with the key, and just the coach had the key and said, just ask me the key. And in your castle, there is your favorite animal, and you want to save your animal, you know. Mm-hmm. It's really, all the children were not good in that exercise. And him, he was like, give me the key, and he was in really me. I'm not a good actress, sorry, but he was really, really amazing.
Wow.
And after I say, okay, he could do. He's not just a nerd. He could have you know, something else. So, and after, yes, he was. He has no cell phone. You know, he's not like other kids. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I love the scene in the courtroom when. I mean, I love he's got fragility, and I worry for him. He like throughout the film, and then he's the one who's in a position of real weakness as a child, and the fact that he delivers the testimony in court, where then you see the prosecuting attorney just knows he's lost. It's such a great moment. It was the kid brought him down. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I think it was one of the most difficult scenes to shoot, because I think he changed at that moment. He grew up really at that moment. He changed. Yes. It was very interesting. And for me, of course, because I'm a director, and it's not the same work when you are working with actors, amazing actors, and when you work with children, you have to be different. It's child, so I had to be, of course, so dans le care, quoi, je sais pas comment dire.
I had to be so careful.
Merci. Thank you. Sorry. And yes,
Yeah.
But for me, I like so much to do that job for this too, because you know, there is a kind of yes, it's the first time, you know. I saw the first time for that kid in a movie, you know, like this. It's so amazing, of course, because he loved that so much. So it was amazing to see that kid too. Okay. It was amazing, yes. And of course, with animals too, it's always full of surprise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that dog is amazing.
Yeah, the dog, yes. Yes, it was a lot of work, but not my work, the work of Laura Martin, the trainer, who works a lot before. Because to obtain that kind of scenes, you have to prepare a lot, few months before. If you just ask for huge structure with animals, just for the 1 week before, you cannot do these things.
I wanted to ask, I guess this is going back a writing question. Did you know from the beginning, had you both made the decision that the film was going to end the way it did, where we see the outcome of the trial, but that's it? You don't learn what really happened, or you don't learn. It's left to the audience to decide what they think happened. Was that in place from the beginning?
Yeah, because I think yes, very, very yes. Because I hesitated to adapt a real story, and I think as a spectator, the case that I adore is always the case when you don't know at the end. Not always, but most of the time. And I think, yes, for me it was very important. The question of the doubts. Doubts are really, really central in the movie. And I think it was, yes, because, the scene when Marge told to the child, okay, you have to decide now. You have to decide. It was really important in the movie to place that child in that position. And I think it's, yes, the story talks about an emancipation of this child, and I think, of course, it's going through this doubts. Yeah.
I'm curious if in the process of developing the film and then making it, did anyone ever push back on that, or push you to give a different ending, to reveal more, like producers or financiers, or everybody was on board?
No, but we had a lot of different ends.
Yeah,
I think,
we thought of different endings. Well,
always with doubts,
yeah,
but a lot
there
of
was
different.
no ending in which we learned at the very end what really happened or something. But it was all the ending that we thought of were all about the mother and the child, and what's going to happen after the end, which is not an end, because everything is still to be lived.
But all the very good stories, I think it's always, you don't know. It's like Amanda Knox, Staircase. There is a lot of stories like this. Always, you don't know.
Yeah, and it's
O.J. Simpson we know, but, but
that one we do know.
No, but when there is another things, there is the first things. O.J. Simpson is very interesting because, of course, the first. It's one of the most interesting trial in the world, I think, because there is a first story, and of course, the case is talking about a much more important thing
Right.
in America. But I think, of course, it's. I like when the first. Quand la première entrée, c'est quelque chose de très banal en fait, comme juste.
I like when the first scene of a movie appear to be very ordinary.
Ouais. Et quand par contre après effectivement ça vient vraiment ouvrir quoi. I think.
And then it evolves in something way more complex.
That kind of movie, it could have been just okay. You don't know who is she. Okay, you will go 2 hours to understand who she is. But no, it's the opposite. You don't know who she is. Time after time, you say, okay, oh wow, it's much more complicated than what I thought before, And it's, of course, it's a couple, it's human. C'est ça qui est intéressant, je pense, dans le film, c'est l'idée vraiment que plus on plonge dans ce film, plus en fait on découvre la complexité de ces gens, la difficulté à résumer ces gens en 2 secondes.
The more we dive into the story, the more we realize how complex it is, and the more we cannot contain them in a very few lines of story.
And I think even she didn't kill him. Maybe she pushed him to commit suicide. Maybe she, maybe she could feel guilty now because of course, she was violent. Of course, maybe he was violent, but there's a lot of doors who are opening in the movie after even of course the whodunit still important in the movie.
Yeah. But by the way, something you just said reminded me of the moment when in court when she says, she's being questioned about the fight and what is the slap, and she says, he was slapping his face. And that's such an incredible moment. And I mean, I just felt it was, in that moment, she was absolutely telling the truth. I think that is, in that moment, right? That is, that's what happened in that moment. And it's just, but it was nothing I as a viewer would have expected. And anyway, but to what you were just saying, like, you're playing with genre and the thriller. The film works as a thriller. Like, as I'm watching it, I'm captivated. I'm leaning in, like, wanting to know what happened, like what's going to be revealed, and there's that inherent tension and dramatic energy to it. But by the end, I actually don't know what happened, and I don't care. But it doesn't diminish the experience of watching the film for me, because it works on this whole other level where it has nothing to do with the thriller or the genre. It has to do with them as humans and everything that you're exploring about just people being unknowable to each other and to themselves and all of it. I mean, so it's fascinating but it still works as a thriller. I mean, as a kind of classic courtroom trial thriller.
Because, as a spectator, I saw a lot of courtroom movies. I saw everything. Maybe sometimes very not good movies, sometimes masterpiece, like Anatomy of a Murder. Sorry, and I think what I adore is when you overcome the question of just the well-crafted things, the good twist at the end. I'm very I'm afraid about the twist, Sometimes twist could be really, really disappointed for everyone, Say, okay, you bring my hand to this end, But it could be like this with my movie. But we had a huge discussion about the sound, the recording sound. Sorry, because at the beginning it was just a sound in the courtroom and not seeing anything. And after I say, okay, it's too clever, it's too against the spectator. If you don't show something about this couple, maybe it's too, not clever, un peu malin, genre pas sympa, quoi, tu sais? Quand tu joues avec le spectateur.
Yeah, it would
it's like I'm playing with you.
On too high above the audience,
and
not,
I think
not generous.
We
not
had
giving
to
him
give them this, but I think when you leave this scene after having seen that scene, sorry, it's a jet lag now my English is really. I think you say, okay, I understand in what kind of movie, in what kind of movie I'm watching, because you say, okay, it's not really, it's non. Tu vois ce que je veux dire, hein? Pardon, tu peux préciser ça, genre que, en gros l'idée qu'à partir du moment où tu as vu cette scène de la scène de dispute, en fait tu comprends que le spectateur comprend mieux où il est, je pense.
Yeah, I think
c'est qu'en fait, il n'est pas juste en train de voir un film efficace de thriller, mais qu'il est en train de voir un film vraiment qui parle vraiment du couple, de ce couple-là, etc.
I think putting the film, the fight scene in the movie, I believe that the spectator then understand that this is not just a thriller or a court movie. It's also the human aspect that is very interesting, and they get on board with that.
Yeah. So I think time for one more question, and I did want to ask you about the chalet. A couple questions. Were you was that your base? Were you actually filming at that chalet, or the interior shot there, or was that on a?
Yes, yes.
So you were like based there for a while. Was that was kind
Yeah,
of
it was a nightmare because there was no snow, so it was awful. We had to.
you had to create it all.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was not ecologic at all. So no, it was really complicated, of course, because you know, the réchauffement climatique.
Yeah, the warming of a planet.
Yeah, right.
That's a problem.
Well, I feel like that house, that chalet, is such a key character in the film, and the way the interior spaces feel, and the way the characters are relating to each other in there. It's a gorgeous space, but it also just tells so much about them and the world.
And of course, even it's not a huge reference for us, Shining, but yeah, because of course, Shining is the base of Shining. Just the idea of a writer. It's the woman here, but who's coming in the place with calm and all the time to create, you know. And of course, it's a trap. But the idea of the trap of a beautiful place to create with all the time that they need, and que tout se retourne contre eux.
And it turns into a nightmare. Everything.
Yeah.
And everything goes against there. It turns
Yeah.
into a nightmare. In
Yes.
fact.
Yeah. She's typing. Sandra must be a good girl, or what?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming
Thank
and
you for
having this
inviting us.
conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming.